Back live with you tonight here on In Focus. Auditor-General Tsakani Maluleke says irregular expenditure remains a problem despite a significant improvement in clean audits for the 2022-2023 financial year. Free State University's political governance specialist, Dr Harlan Cloete, joins us now for more on that. Dr Cloete, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's start right there with those particular clean audits. 35% of the auditees coming up with outcomes which were unqualified, meaning clean, out of 418, that means 147. It's a significant number, but it's also a worrying thing, wouldn't you say, that at least 65% of the auditees are still showing poor way of putting together their financials. They can't put them together. Others are missing. They can't put together performance reports, never mind having systems in place that ensure that they are working within the rule of law.
Good evening, and good evening to you, and good evening also to the viewers. You're right, 35% is low, but it is. I guess one must look at the glass that is half full instead of half empty. I think what we can celebrate, and what she has really pointed out today, that yes, there has been an improvement, and I think that is welcoming news, because year after year, I think that is still one of the institutions of South Africa that South Africans have faith in, and the integrity of the Auditor-General is so important. And so what she has reported, 418 audits that she's completed, 35% low, yes, but it is an improvement, and so I think we need to welcome that. She also said in the report that more and more provinces, if you look at the performance of the other provinces, that provinces on the whole have improved.
Yeah, the improvement. What does it signal? Sometimes people say that the provinces, national departments, and so on and so forth could have now figured a way of putting financials together, right? Be it using consultants or whatever. They could have figured a way of putting some kind of a performance report. But the fact that they are operating within the law does not necessarily mean that the expenditure is going to where it's supposed to be going to.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying, that the Auditor-General takes a holistic view of it in terms of looking at performance and looking whether an institution can account, and so what a clean audit shows is that the municipality can, not the municipality, that the government department can account, that it keeps financial, that it does the basic things right, keeping a record, making sure that decisions are supported, that the decisions are made within the right framework of the law, and that it can account. What is of concern, however, that there are a number of institutions that simply have outstanding audits. And she pointed out, for example, NSFAS. Now, NSFAS and the UIF and SAA. If I can just start with NSFAS, for example, I think that is where our problem in this country lies, with education. And NSFAS is the student aid, financial aid scheme. Now, if an outstanding audit simply proves to lack of governance, lack of planning, lack of coordination, lack of structure, I think if you are late, and that is what she pointed out in the report, that once a submitting report becomes late, it becomes part of the institutional culture. And I think what we must applaud, that it looks like in some departments that the culture is changing from recklessness to being accountable and making sure that every rand that government allocates, that it is spent in the right way, because that is what South Africans want. They want value for money. They want to make sure that nobody steals, and so there's still faith and confidence in the process.
So there is a particular concern, especially in the infrastructure procurement spend, that there are poor payment practices. Late payment of contractors is one of them, but I suppose maybe even more of concern is the overpayments and the inability to get quality on the spend that we are making. What is the appropriate action, do you think, that is required there?
I think it's the entire value chain in terms of the supply chain management, and there's the Municipal Finance Management Act. spells out the exact procedure, for example, the MFMA, PMFA. So it spells out the procedure. All of this comes down to management, to proper management, to making sure that there's good governance, because, the following of procedure, and that we keep on doing the right thing. And so the Auditor-General looks back, what is worrying, that's what I'm saying. It's worrying if a department fails to submit audits. That is a worrying sign. And so if we look at procurement, for example, that is always the space where corruption happens. Late payments or overpayments, or that is the cesspool, that entire governance of procurement.
Yeah. So take Gauteng, for example. They are saying, here's an intervention that they're going to bring in. It's called the Financial Infrastructure Lab. Why are they bringing that in? One, to curb this thing of overspend, they are saying, but also to curb a situation where a project starts, and in the middle of a project, then a contractor would come and increase the scope. Hardly halfway through the project, even before the project is completed. They're saying they will have this lab, so to speak, which will, in essence, do a feasibility study, make sure, for example, that things like environmental assessment studies are done on the land before even the construction is started. And this is a process that could take 2 to 3 months before projects are started, to ensure that once a project starts, it's not stopped halfway, or halfway through the process you find that the budget is changed and more money is required. Do you think something like that could certainly improve their audit outcomes?
I think before a tender goes out, there's a tender specifications and their estimates, and there's a number of processes that inform a process before it is put out, and so you've got consulting engineers, for example, that work closely with the municipalities to ensure, because we must also face it that there's a lack of, for example, technical capacity. If I just look at the municipal space, and so a lot of them rely on consulting engineers in terms of this, that we do have to build the capacity. The capacity of individuals, but sometimes we've got capability problems in municipalities in terms of processes, in terms of structure, in terms of combining those two things. And so it's a combination of capacity and capability within local government. I keep saying local government, within government as a whole, to strengthen the ability of government to deliver on its mandate. I always say that it takes two to tango. If we talk about corruption in government, we must also talk about private sector corruption, because a lot of times people work in cahoots with one another, that either I inflate prices, or as the project goes along, I just what we call project creep, and more issues, and that's where the deviations come up. If we do not plan this thing properly from the beginning in terms of the estimates, and so the project management side of it also needs to be looked at very, very closely. And so it's a combination of capacity, having the right people with the right competencies within these positions, and making sure that the organization then is capable, because we're talking about a capable state. And capability talks about that processes, So this entire governance of that checks and balances, that is what we need to be closely look at. And if there's examples where you have clean audit, for example, the Development Bank of South Africa, and they work with billions. They have a clean audit, and they're the standout child there. And so we need to go and look at what are they doing right, and what can other departments then learn from them.
Dr. Harlan, Cloete, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. That is Specialist on Governance there from the University of the Free State.